This week, I have a 3-part series on financial comfort zone for you. So this is video 1 in that series. Hello everyone. Brie Sodano here, personal finance expert and the founder of From Shoop to Shark. Today, what we're going to talk about is what is financial comfort zone, why does it matter, and what does that have to do with your financial growth. Your financial comfort zone is not really about what it is you want, what makes you comfortable. It's really about what's familiar, what you're used to. See, the brain works in 2 different parts, and your subconscious brain, which is in charge of all of your actions, all of your habits, and really all of your feelings, loves what is familiar, because the number 1 priority of your subconscious brain is keeping you alive every single day. And so if you're in a space that you're familiar, that part of your brain knows that you can survive it, which is like paramount to this part of your brain. And so oftentimes when we're trying to make changes in our lives, we get outside of our comfort zone, right? Like you'll hear that in every personal development book, speech, whatever. Everybody's like, you got to get outside of your comfort zone. And this is where the gap happens. So every single one of us has a gap between our programming, what we think is normal, what we think is regular, and our potential. Like where's the maximum amount of prosperity that we could possibly have? So there's that gap. And so your comfort zone is your current bit of programming, and then your potential is where you want to be. This gap, that's where you're going to be outside of your comfort zone. It's going to be the treacherous feeling of discomfort between getting from where you are to getting to where you want to be. So I'm going to give you a quick activity about how to think about your financial comfort zone, so this way you can have awareness of where you currently are and where you want to be. Take out a piece of paper and you want to just cut it in 4, so you have 4 boxes. And you want to label them earning, spending, savings, and debt. And really what you want to be thinking about is where you are. So this is the truth about where you are. We'll get to where you want to be, but first we're going to just start with where you are. So you want to think about, well, for your earnings, what's the most that you've ever made? What are you currently making? Have you been making that for a number of years? And it's not comfortable. Like you can think about your number and know that you're under earning, or know that that number's not right. Know that, you can be uncomfortable when you think about where you currently are. But we want to really be thinking about, where have you been? What's familiar? You want to almost think about comfort zone like one of those electric fences that dogs have, where you're fine when you're in it, but once you cross the line, it's like a little zap. Think about your earnings. Think about it. What's the smallest amount you can even imagine showing up for? And what's the biggest amount you can imagine before you're like, oh God, that doesn't even make sense? Then you want to think about your spending. And spending is interesting because you want to be thinking, what percentage of your money goes out in expenses? Oftentimes what I really see is the more people make, the more they spend, and they maintain a very tight relationship with their cash flow. They're like white knuckling it. And even when they make more money and have the potential to have free cash flow, they don't take it. They'll get a new car or take on a loan or take on some sort of expense. And so that way their expenses are big. You want to think about, what does money feel like to be spent? Do you love to spend money? Is that your comfort? Does money that comes in immediately go back out? Are you able to hang on to it? Does spending cause discomfort for you? Do you feel like it's a scam, like you're being taken advantage of when you're spending money? So those are things you want to think about, like what's the comfort zone around the spending? Then you want to think about your savings. What's the most that you've had in your savings account? What's the least that you've had in your savings account? And this is a very important distinction. You want to think about money that you've saved yourself over time, a little at a time, and any big windfalls. In our minds, oftentimes those 2 things get treated a little bit differently. So you want to think, all right, yes, I can save a couple $100 a week and I can build that up to a certain level. Most of the time we will get to a point in our savings account where if it dips below, we will constrict our spending to be able to save more. Oftentimes too, if we get a windfall and then we have more money in our savings account than we're used to, we will find emergencies, we'll feel extra generous, will find a reason that it really needs to be used, right? Because most of us justify spending with a need. We need this, I need that, it's an emergency, I must have it, right? So you want to think about that. Then you want to think about your relationship with debt. What's the smallest amount of debt that you've had? What's the largest amount of debt that you've had? If you have a number that you go, where your balance creeps up above this number, you must do something about it. Or if it goes down, you're like, I could put it on the card. Those are things that you want to think about. And the reason why this is so important is because oftentimes we will do things to get back into that comfort zone. So I'm going to give you some examples. So I've had a client take out a home equity loan to pay off all her credit cards. Her comfort zone was $30,000 in credit card debt. She paid that all off at once. There was no time to stretch. There was no time to mentally adjust. She went very far out of her comfort zone, and she now has a home equity loan, but she ran that credit card right back up. So as you do this activity, I want you to think about the numbers. Also, as you're doing this, think about any stories that you can remember from childhood or growing up, even like significant incidents in your personal past that contribute to your comfort zone. Think about those things. Make notes of it on the paper. And then as you're also doing this, I want you to check in with your body, like do a body check-in. What does it feel like to imagine earning less than what you're currently making? What does it feel like to imagine earning more or saving more or spending more? And just check in with your body, because oftentimes your body is going to give you really good clues as to what's going on in your subconscious brain, because your subconscious brain is in charge of your emotions, it's in charge of your feelings. So sometimes that you can't hear that subconscious brain, it doesn't really have a voice, but you can feel the feels if you're with me. In the next video, what we're going to be talking about is how sometimes we self-sabotage when we're in that gap. And so I'm going to be giving you some tips and tricks on how to overcome self-sabotage as you're increasing your financial capacity. So check me out in the next one.